We covered the United Nations and emerging technologies at the United Nations. And I started following you on Twitter because you do an excellent curation of articles of interest for diplomats and so on. So, and the history of the UN too, because you were based in New York just before you were posted in
Yes, I
Conakry,
was
right?
based in New York twice. The first time was I was in the Brazilian mission to the UN, when Brazil was a member of the Security Council back in
When was that? It
2010,
was
2010,
2000.
2011. Then I moved back to Brasilia, and then I was posted again in New York, but to be a senior advisor to the President of the General Assembly twice. So I spent 2 years more in New York, but working for the UN, not for the Brazilian mission in New York. So and then
Oh, I
I was
see. Then you were
yeah. So
UN staff member.
yes, I was actually seconded to the UN for 2 years.
Oh, I see.
Hmm.
Oh, I
So I
see.
also
Of course, the Brazilian
yeah,
government sometimes, right, to have a
exactly.
function, the fonctionnaire, how do you say, staff
Yeah,
from the
staff.
government
Mhm.
second the post.
That's right. So and before that, I was head of the UN division in Brasilia.
Oh, I
So
see. I see. Of
I
course.
have been doing academic research on multilateralism, Brazilian foreign policy, UN. So that's why I have
Yes,
really
you have a PhD actually in international relations, if I'm not wrong.
exactly. It mostly focused on history at the time, but since I'm a career diplomat, it's obvious that I am pretty much involved in the current affairs and the challenge for the
Right,
UN
right.
today, for the future. So I really enjoyed my experience in New York. So it's like in Guinea, it's like a gap year. So was very
Right.
good
I
to
thought
yeah.
a combination, right? First, you are like in the capital of the financial world, right?
Uh-huh.
Like New York City, where multilateralism has a face and a wallet. And now
Hmm.
you are in Conakry, which again, Africa is like poised to major shifts, right? In terms of
Yes.
emerging technologies too, telecoms and so on, as you know, right? Big
Hmm.
tech is there. Everybody wants a piece of the action there. That everybody's looking at Africa. But not only that,
Of
it's
course.
also a relationship between Brazil, right, our strong African American heritage, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's interesting for
Oh,
Brazil.
this
So,
experience was extremely important to have this experience in West Africa, a developing country, all the problems they have, much
mhm.
as in Brazil, in all the developing countries as well. Because if we talk about New York, it's everything's big and there's a healthy. And then I go to San Francisco, where it's the tech industry, the future. So that's very nice to have this stopover in Conakry to see a
Mhm.
bit of a reality of global South and developing countries, all the needs they have.
Mhm.
So so I think I'm now a better diplomat, having spent 1 year in Guinea.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So, yes, I was very
Mhm.
pleased to hear that you have been appointed. I believe it's the first tech envoy for the Brazilian government next to Silicon Valley, to the technology heartbeat the globe, actually,
Mhm.
not only of America, right? So, how did this position was created? When was it created? Who came to the conclusion that it was time to have a tech envoy?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I should say that this position is not of a tech ambassador, as other governments decide to have in California, because as you know, Denmark appointed the first ever tech ambassador in 2017. They had an office fully dedicated to these issues, with branches in San Francisco, Copenhagen, Beijing, and later other countries, most from Europe, they also appointed diplomats to similar positions, but with different names, staff, and different configurations. In my case, I'm not an ambassador myself. I'm a career diplomat at minister council level. And I should be attached to the Brazilian Consulate General in San Francisco as Deputy Consul General and Head of Science, Technology, and Innovation. So maybe you may call me a tech diplomat because formerly no new post was created. But what happened in reality was a realization in my capital that we could do more. So we have a structure in place in San Francisco, but I agree, and this is, I believe, the main reason for my appointment, that we can do more. So many emerging technologies, such as artificial intelligence, they are incredibly disruptive, which means they can have an extraordinary economic potential in addition to a growing impact on society in our daily lives. And Brazil needs to move forward quickly in this field and seek international partnerships to leverage its national production and technological capacity. And the Brazilian Minister of Foreign Affairs has 55 sections at both embassies and consulates. So 55 sections on science, technology, and innovation abroad. And these sections, yeah.
The Brazilian government, obviously, I was going to say that has always, there are always, you had always diplomats that were focusing on emerging technologies. Because I remember when I was posted, based in New York City, I was working for UN Radio. And of course, whenever there were any topics related to emerging technologies, there would be always a Brazilian diplomat that would be the person responsible for that.
Exactly.
Right? So
yes.
what changes now? What is slightly different about the creation of this position?
Yeah, that's the idea, because as I said, these sections on science, technology, and innovation, they gather information and they promote opportunities for cooperation, including bilateral projects, exchanges, and matchmaking between companies and institutions. We also have the Minister of Foreign Affairs innovation diplomacy program with a focus on frontier technologies to foster collaboration with foreign innovation ecosystems. So the idea now is to give an upgrade in our representation in San Francisco. And then we will move in this direction. So that's perhaps one of the main reasons for my appointment at this stage.
And what you see is now also the possibilities that open up in terms of cooperation, since other governments are also sending tech envoys to San Francisco, like you mentioned, there was Kasper Klink from the government of Denmark. Ministry of Foreign Affairs was the first diplomat that was appointed specifically with this mission of engaging with the technology companies in Silicon Valley. And I know there are other countries that are also appointing tech envoys. So what is the possibilities for collaboration now?
You mean to cooperate among themselves, right?
Among the diplomats themselves, because perhaps now you create your own sort of circle of influence together,
yes.
work together. I'm sure.
Sure.
But what do you see are the possibilities there?
Yeah, as I said, I'll be the Brazilian tech and diplomat responsible for reaching out to Silicon Valley and the Bay Area, including tech companies, universities, and high-tech research institutes in San Francisco. So I believe we can play a more active role to promote this win-win technological cooperation. And I'll be more than happy to work together with partners based in Silicon Valley and explore opportunities for exchange, collaboration. For example, some of our priorities include artificial intelligence and machine learning, robotics, digital transformation, Internet of Things, quantum computing, and specific areas where Brazil has an edge, such as fintechs, agri-tech, health tech. So you asked about cooperation with tech envoys from other countries. And yes, there is plenty of room to cooperate with these fellow diplomats and representatives. Silicon Valley is not uncharted territory. So the big tech companies have been around for quite a while. So as we say in Brazil, there is an expression that we use when someone discovered America. America has already been discovered by Columbus a long time ago. So no need to reinvent gunpowder. So So the challenge is to have a clear policy, strengthen existing links, seek new partners, implement sound projects, carry out target initiatives, and most importantly, to achieve concrete results. I think that's the only way. Everything you do should end up in something concrete, tangible, which can help Brazil develop its own scientific and technological capacities, both in the short and in the long term.
And also there is much talk, of course, of other emerging powers like China that are very important technology innovation centers. So do you think that going forward, we are going to be looking at the possibility of having tech envoys, not only on Silicon Valley, but in China and other innovation hubs?
Yes, definitely. Silicon Valley is a very special place. And when it comes to high technologies, digital affairs, globally, Silicon Valley is the place to be. But I fully agree with you. It's not the only global tech hub that should be explored. So in China, for instance, as you said, Brazil has active sections on science, technology, innovation in the embassy in Beijing and the consulates in Shanghai, Hong Kong, and there are plans to open another section in the Brazilian consulate in Guangzhou, which is the third largest city in China. So, and the jurisdiction of this new section in Guangzhou would also include Shenzhen, known as the Chinese Silicon Valley. So Shenzhen is very strong in hardware with several important tech companies, the headquarters of Tencent and Huawei, for example. And they are moving fast to develop a new expertise in robotics, drones, AI systems. So in China, you'll find many emerging science technology clusters in different regions, cities, and some of them are completely new. I mean, just built, brand new. And even the US, Silicon Valley is, of course, not the only innovation ecosystem. Just remember the Boston area, New York, Chicago, Texas, many other places. And don't
Yes,
forget
the
Europe.
US
Yeah,
itself, right?
in the US, and don't forget Europe, Canada, Japan, Korea, all the countries in Asia, Middle East, Africa, Latin America. So what we need, Brazil, is a global strategy to coordinate better our efforts and maximize the scarce resources that we have. Because at the end of the day, Brazil is a developing country, and we can't afford to have the most active and ideal presence in all places and all at the same time. So the question is, does it make sense to start with Silicon Valley? Yes, of
Of
course. And
course.
this is precisely what we are trying to do. So hopefully we will succeed. That's
I
the idea.
I'm sure. I'm pretty sure. With you on the helm, I'm certain. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Minister Councilor Eugenio Garcia,
Thank
recently
you so much.
appointed Brazilian Tech Envoy in Silicon Valley. Thank you very much. Pleasure speaking with you.